Okay, folks, the digital world takes a little bit of time to come on. Thank you for inviting me. It's good to be here. I came here, I think, 5 years ago, and I'm wonderstruck by what is happening. I've been a very fond advocate of Hubli. I headed a IT vision group for Karnataka. We wrote a report. We said Hubli should be made the center of IT in the north of Karnataka, because in the north we need to have greater investment. I worked with 3 chief ministers to do something here. Didn't work because you don't have political clout in Bangalore. And you are very good, mild people who keep quiet all the time. And in a democracy, unless you have a political lobby, nobody cares for you. And you must get together, you must fight for your rights and get investment here. Are you not going to get anything? Things are not going to change. Things are not going to change. Your political leaders in Bangalore, but they don't know what to do. And your representatives just don't care. I want to say it again and again because I'm personally very disappointed about Hubli, because I want Hubli to do well. If Hubli doesn't do well, the north of Karnataka will not do well. South of Karnataka does well because of Bangalore. In every state in this country, it's only if a city, large conglomerate does well, the region does well. North India does well because of Delhi. Sans Delhi, there's nothing. So please, and when you see what is going to happen next, you don't want to be left behind. And you're going to be left behind. Technology is going to change the world. So here goes. Okay, the world has changed. The last time such a change came was in 1820, 200 years from now, when the steam engine went off patent. What happened in 1820? India, China made up 45% of world GDP. They were the largest countries in the world since the start of civilization, primarily because they had large population and they were artisanal economies. And being artisanal economies, people had skills, they produced, they exported, and they were very rich. Then came the age of machines, when the steam engine went off patent and Great Britain took over. They colonially exploited the world, built up the resources, created the greatest empire the world has seen, because the age of machines was led by Europe. And Europe became the dominant economic power. And if you read history, you find that from 1820 onwards, there's been ascendancy for Europe. Now, 200 years later, in the digital world, the emerging markets is going to be the dominant economic power. And this global shift happening after 200 years has great advantages for all of us who want to take advantage. And leading this is the internet. Out of a total population, 5 billion people have a mobile connection. And 4.5 billion people are on the web. So if you're on the internet, you are on a single platform which connects everybody. Asynchronously, you can communicate, you can do business, you can get entertained, you can get information, and you can see movies, you can do anything that you want. The world has become one single market. And geography has become history, because you can do rich videos with anybody, and you can do it asynchronously at a time of your choosing. But the barriers in the supply chain created by the Industrial Revolution, which gave some people an advantage, is no longer there, because today, for any business, the biggest issue is how to reach a customer. Now, you can reach a customer directly through the web, because everybody is internet, and everybody is in the network. Please remember this, the dominant economic power is going to be the platform. And the platform, everybody gets connected. And the fight for control of the platform is a fight that is leading to global monopolies around the world who want to control all of you. This is a very important thing. Next. And India too, 1.3 billion people, 1 billion mobile connections, 560 million people on the internet, 310 million social media users, and I think we got 460 million people on WhatsApp. It's very, very large. Now, if you look at internet ranking, India comes 34, 35. Ignore that. There's no country with a billion population in the world except China. So what do you do with a small country like Finland or a small country like the UK? 65 million people is like Karnataka. Singapore comes very high up, but only 5 million people. Bangalore has got 12. So don't go by this list, because there's no use to, because there's no country like India. 29 states, each one bigger than most countries in Europe. Each one extremely complex. Very different markets. Your district of Hubli has about 20 lakh people, 2 million people. How many countries have population of more than 2 million in the 200 plus countries in the world? Maybe 60, 70. So it's people that make the difference. And that's why if you look at these numbers, India is in the midst of tremendous change which is going to change the future. Next. Now look at this. Digital platforms have strong network effects and they've overtaken traditional product or service providers. It's a network, the power of the network. When there are a billion people on the network, you coming on the network means you get access to a billion people. You're out of the network, you're out of it. Ravi Shankar Prasad speaks about this 82-year-old woman in remote Andhra Pradesh who met him and said, I'm a digital native in our own language in Telugu. He said, I stay alone in a hut, but every day I do FaceTime with my grandchild in Dubai. Look at that. You're alone in a remote place, in the midst of nothing. You got nothing, you stay in a hut. Your children are gone, everybody is gone, and you got this small device. You press a button, your grandson in Dubai comes and talks to you. You can see movies. I dream of a day when everybody is empowered, when a mother can wake up in remote Thar desert, maybe find a child sick, take to FaceTime and call the Prime Minister and say, my child is sick, and helicopter will come and take the child to hospital. It can happen now. It couldn't happen earlier. This is the power of technology which empowers individuals, empowers all of you, and empowers everybody and levels the field. Next. Digital penetration is going down. Growth rates are coming down because almost everybody will have it. Next. Now, transacting is becoming seamless. You can transact on the mobile and pay. You couldn't do that earlier. You write a check, carry cash. You don't have to do that. And there are many fintech companies which give you loans. You want to buy a TV, somebody will give you a loan in 10 minutes, 5 minutes. It's happening in China, it's happening in Bangalore, it's happening in many cities. So now payments have become, and if you look at this, how many people pay through the web is fantastic. UPI did 1.2 billion transactions last month in December. I don't know the January numbers. And it's much more than card transactions. If by this year end in December 2020, there are more transactions than all cards because seamless. On a mobile, you can transfer money to one bank account to another up to 2 lakh rupees free of cost in 30 seconds. Try doing it. You can't do it in the US. Why? The banks are not networked. Indian banks are networked. And India has got something which is magic. I'll show it to you later. Next. Mobile video usage has taken over. The world has changed. Everybody sees. How many people see TV? Put your hands up. Interesting. For the last year, last calendar year, TV sales fell down for the first time ever in India. And they all blamed videos on the mobile. Everybody is on the mobile. Even in the home, sadly, when you sit together, family, you don't talk to each other, you send messages by the mobile. Your wife doesn't talk to you. Well, you also don't talk sometimes, but they send messages in mobile, and all movies and videos every day. Look at this, look at this, look at this. What has happened to us? And that means the world has changed. Our behavior, the way we live has changed. And video has taken over. Next. This is fantastic. Do you know what it is? Huh? How many of you see this? This is a portal Twitch where people go and see to watch two people playing a mobile game. They don't go to cinema theaters to see cinema. They go to cinema theaters to find people playing mobile games. On this portal, 50 billion users. They're seeing mobile games coming on. And they go there and two people play mobile games and you're excited seeing the action on the screen. But you're not playing. Can you imagine that? That's the change in behavior. Next. Number of years to 50 million users. The speed of change is what is now important for us. The speed of change is unbelievable. And the rapidity of change and how things changes, behavior changes, because there's a platform and everybody can download almost for free and use that. And look at this, Pokemon 19 days, Twitter 2 years. Jio has 365 million users in 10 quarters. Never done before in human history. Never happened in India. The action is here. Is the action in Hubli? Yeah? Really? Tell me. You got to do more. Okay? You've done well. You have the foundation, but you got to do more. Next, look at this change. And that's why you go to change. And here, power has shifted to the digital world. The most valuable companies in the world are all digital. When Apple reached $1 trillion of market value, we said, $1 trillion? Can you go further? Then we had that oil company, Aramco, with $2 trillion. Now everybody says Apple is going to be $2 trillion. $2 trillion? It's a lot of money. It's a hell of a lot of money. But it's happening. Google, Alphabet, Google, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, all the tech companies are winning. What happened to the oil companies? What happened to GE? What happens to Total? All these big companies you grew up. What happened to IBM? Hopefully it's got an Indian now who probably knows more about technology. It could have a chance. Because after Nadella came, Microsoft tripled, right? After, who is that in Google? Pichai came, Sundar came, it's gone up in value. Maybe we should tell Zuckerberg, hey man, come to Hubli and pick up somebody else. There's a magic in these people. Well, you know, they're smart people. So look at this. I think the world has changed, and you're seeing this, and look at the delta of change. The delta is enormous. Nobody has seen value creation like this. I've been watching markets for 40 years. I've never seen this. And have you seen it all? The best is yet to come. Always. For thousands of years. Tomorrow will always be a better day. Today is a great day. Tomorrow will be better. Because the sun is anyway going to rise tomorrow, whatever happens today. Why worry? Next. The winners always look invulnerable until they don't. Now in India, we have a philosophy of creative destruction. Creation, sustenance, destruction. The Tandava dance by Shiva comes very often when everything goes and new things come up. So we believe in creative destruction, and that's happening in the marketplace in a big way because technology destroys everybody who stays behind. And Clayson, right? The innovator's dilemma. Who is that? Huh? Clayton always said that innovators will destroy the world. And why does it happen? You innovate, you grow a company, then you put in a process for growth, you become a victim of the process, the tyranny of the process destroys you, then you set up groups, then you set up innovation, the risk management comes, the compliance comes, everybody comes and destroys you, so big companies cannot innovate. It's always the small companies innovate because they don't know things can't be done. And they go do it anyway. They don't know there's a law. They break it without knowing. And society is tolerant. Society likes young people, the upstart, the iconoclast who comes and destroys the world. They root for him. They make the money from the world, but root for this kind of disruptive forces. Next. Digitize the enterprise. How is business enterprise changing? Look at this. Next. There's a huge amount of data in the world today, zettabytes and all kind of stuff. And this zettabytes is going on in an unprecedented manner. A lot of data is being generated and is going to go up and up. Next. Access is coming in a big way. Sometime old data, I should get the latest data now. But today, Indians use 11 GB of data a month. Indians pay only 100 rupees on the Jio, $1.50. In Americans use only 2.85 GB of data. America is behind, a little bit backward. Indians spend 67 minutes a day on the video, on the mobile, see video. Indians are generous with their time, not their money. They don't have much anyway. But you see this happening, 11 GB of data. Nobody does that. And for what? $1.50 a month, $100 a month. Give me a break. It's so cheap. Tomorrow they'll give it away for free too. So, storage. Next. Storage has crashed. It's going underground because of cloud. Can you see this? The cost has come down tremendously. Today, a young person wanting to start a company doesn't need a data center, database administrators. They can go to AWS, sign on, they give it free, and you are in business in 5 minutes. Funny, when you started your company, you had a data center, right? You put all the servers and connected them together, all that. Am I right? We all grew up with that. Don't need it now. All gone. History. And they're putting data centers in Iceland as some godforsaken place because it is cold. They melt the solar cap. They don't know. 10% of the US energy goes to data center. Their power, they consume power like anything else. Next. Leap in compute. Moore's law. The power of a chip doubles in 18 months at the cost halves. Now is reaching the end of the ability of materials to sustain that. Now we're coming into quantum computing. It's a different form of computing where there's massive parallel processing, and that helps increase the speed by a factor of X from the fastest machine that you have today. So hopefully we can model and simulate the first 1 second after the Big Bang, just to find out what happened when the Big Bang banged and the universe was created. Nobody knows. You got to model that. And you can model the human DNA to find out how to recreate the human being. Can you recreate the human being? Can you replace all the body organs? Can you simulate viruses attacking you? Now in the coronavirus, people are using biocomputing to simulate and find out how to get a cure. It's enormous. So you see this quantum computing is going to bring change. So all the constraints that are there are going to be taken away in the digital world. And the only constraint is going to be the human mind and the ability of people to change. Next. Algorithmic techniques have been fantastic. New algorithms returned because there's data and there is huge computing power and costs have come down, so you can do anything. Facial recognition technology has gone up to 98, 99%. And in China, you have companies which can take a face of a face, part of a face, and see who you are. 170 million CC cameras all over. You can't escape. 1984, once again. You can't escape the power of technology. So it is very scary. Very scary. The biggest threat to human life is technology and the rise of digital monopolies. And you can see it happening in China, where the whole of China is under the Great Firewall, the Great Wall. They built the Great Wall to keep away the barbarians. Now they're building a Great Wall to keep away the new barbarians, the digital barbarians. So you got Baba, Tencent, and everybody inside, and they're collecting all the data, and the government is watching it and finding out what it is. And now they come with a new thing whereby they tell you, if you don't pay a bank loan, if you go have an accident and run away, we'll catch you, we'll shut you away from the airlines, shut you away from everything because everything is digital. They're trying to control you. It will not happen in India. It will not happen in America. But the NSA knows about you. All the movies you see, which is a movie with Tom Cruise? Huh? Mission Impossible, you go put in the computer, track everybody, break into the cameras in London and stop the traffic and do all the things. It actually works. It happens. And because of this. And then the best chess player has been beaten by a machine. The best Go player has been beaten by a machine. And Microsoft AI is learning to write code by itself. Baby app. The app writes an app, and the app creates a baby. I mean, it's a baby. It's not a real baby. You can't hold it, cuddle it, and do ooh to it. But we don't know what is happening. And you can see here, the best Go player in the world just announced he's not going to play again because he said, I can't beat the machine. Why you can't beat the machine? Because the machine can do thousands of simultaneous calculations in chess. Chess is all about calculation. The human brain has 82 billion neurons. The neurons connect to each other by weak electrical impulses and stores data and everything else by chemical reactions. So you got to train your machine. It takes a lot of time to train. And the brain consumes 30-35% energy in the body. So you actually get tired. But a machine doesn't get tired. 24/7, day after day. Of course, it requires some cooling, and power and all that. It doesn't get tired. Can you imagine? So human beings can't fight the battle anymore. Next. What does it mean for business? So you can collect and process data, and you can derive better than human results. Do recommendation engines, deep learning, predictive analytics, text mining, natural language processing, prescriptive analysis, external, whatever it is. How many of you are in this field? B2B. Man, good. Keep doing. A lot of opportunities. But all this can be done at a very low cost. Next. Source of technology. Now that is the issue. The convergence of technology to big data, IoT, AI, and quantum computing, and Web 2.0 is going to change the way we do things because they're coming together in a very rapid way, undeterred by lack of capital or anything else. And this pace of change and all of them coming together is empowering people and enterprises. Next. Labor productivity has been stagnating, but now it will go up again because of AI. Next. This is very dense. Okay, just look at it. And keep it in your mind. Because what does it say? It says most things in most businesses can be automated. There are three kinds of jobs in society. The first job, which requires the creative part and the logical part to work together. We have the left brain, right brain, they have to work together. Right? The creative part and the logical part. Those people who are there, who are creative, will do well. Second part, where 60% of humanity is rule-based work. You go to an office and do something, and you get an output. Those will go because the machine can do it better, automation can help it, and that's why in the Indian banking system, over the last 15 years, banks' balance sheet went up by 10 times, but employment went up 5%. Only 5%. Went up 10 times. The jobs are getting automated. And very soon, even in school, you have a chatbot talking to you, which can be personalized and help you with all your homework. So if you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, shivering that you can't do the maths exam at 10 in the morning, you can go to your laptop or a tablet and turn it on and start doing maths, and the chatbot will come and talk to you and help you and solve all your problems so you can crack the exam. Good, isn't it? It can be individualized, and that's happening in a big way. So these are the things, creative, process data, collect data, all these things can be done. Next. Combined value of digitization, huge value, an impact on jobs, 3 million jobs will go in the consumer area. New jobs will come up, yeah. Everybody tells us when a change happened, new jobs came up. When the industrial revolution happened, new jobs came up because people didn't have low income, low consumption, costs were high, and that led to jobs. Today in the developed markets, per capita income is $50,000. You can't go more than that. You're consuming everything. All the good jobs will get automated. And the people who automate will make enormous amounts of money. So the disparity among the top 1% and the next 10% is because of this automation. Who owns the firm? Zuckerberg is going to be billion. Right? So it is not that everybody tells us change will come, more jobs will come. Yeah, but more jobs will require a doctorate in physics and an AI. We don't have it. Human beings are nice people. They have certain amount of skills. Not everybody has got a doctorate. Not everybody knows technology. I still don't know how to do things in the mobile. I asked my son. And sometimes when he was in Stanford, I called him up and woke him up, saying, "Man, this thing is not working. What do I do?" He said, "Papa, this is 3 o'clock in the morning." Oh, I'm so sorry. Because, we are a different generation. It's difficult for us. Even for new people. So it's complex. So human beings cannot change. Few will succeed. Adidas took back a factory from China which made shoes to Germany, and the whole thing is automated with robots. Where are the people? Yeah, there are a few people with a PhD in AI or in physics who are doing the work. So next. Return on investment by technology. Now, this is an important slide which says, the data proves that people who are using automation, who are sophisticated, have a greater advantage than people who are not, and the delta is increasing. So you can see the graph going up. Total internet users, very large. Of course, got a large population. Next. Digitization has helped. You can see retail e-commerce, how much has increased in China. The US is far behind. The US thinks is sophisticated in digitization. It is not. Go to China and see. You can't go right now. You will not come back. But, go later and see for yourself how people use, how people interact, how people lead their lives. Because you see, when people have got legacy, it's very difficult to change legacy. When you start new, you can be at the top. But legacy is difficult. In Japan today, many of the SMEs use that 403 machines. What is that called? So you can see here how e-commerce has helped in logistics. They cut the cost in logistics, in payments, etc. Next. Case in point, fintech revolution. China mobile payment users has gone up tremendously. Old data, I think I sent the wrong slide to them anyway. So look at that, it's taken over. Next. Among the top 20 companies which are in the digital world, China and the US dominate. China and the US dominate. Anybody from Europe here? Here? Oh, Sweden has got one. Okay, little bit. Next. Now, this is important. Because of these apps have got customers who've been acquired, they got millions of people, they're creating this own ecosystem. So Baba has got food delivery, Baba has got entertainment, Baba has got logistics, Baba has got payments, Baba has got lending. So Alibaba has got everything. So in the Alibaba app, you get access to everything. They're creating their own ecosystem. You're out of the ecosystem, you're gone. So 2 or 3 ecosystems are coming. Google Pay is 59% of payments in India. Can you believe that? Not Paytm. They blow up too much of money. But Google Pay. Why everybody's on Google, they do this, they can transfer money. Ease of use. But when the ecosystem gets there, you get stuck. You're out of the ecosystem, you're out of it. Now this is the start of an ecosystem play where you can have, great trouble or great joy. For example, if you have an Apple device, all Apple devices are on the same platform, they're all updated together, it works interoperable, and everything works, right? It's so easy, so you get hooked onto it. Next. Venture capital investment is going in China. The bad companies are creating more companies, and bad alumni are dominating. So there's a concentration of digital power, the concentration of economic power, concentration of political power, because you got money. And what do we poor people do in a small place like Hubli? Do some small thing and say, yay, agriculture, I'm going to do this, yay. The world has changed. It's gone ahead. We'll always be small. And it's shocking. So we'll be happy and small in a remote place, coming to a place like this, where you hear a silly fellow like me giving you some data and feeling very happy and entertained about it, right? You got to do something. You got to be part of this. Next. Productivity revolution, because of digitization, will contribute 5 trillion to China's GDP. China is the biggest economy in the world. In PPP, $25 trillion more than the US. $14.2 trillion nominal, growing at 4 to 5%, will overtake the United States. And that's why Trump is going after China. Because China said we'll spend $150 billion on AI by 2022, and by 2025 we will equal the US and dominate them in technology. It is scary. They got the people, they got the PhDs, they got the capital, they got the market, they got everything. And that's why Trump is going after them and trying to change the world. Europe has lost the battle. Europe is 25% of the world's population spends 40% of the social spending. They lost the battle. Average age is some 42, 45 years. America is still standing firm. Japan has lost it. A shrinking population, a economic power, and a great manufacturing power in the last generation. India is emerging. And India will be the battlefield in the digital world, between the Chinese coming here and trying to take up the market, and the Americans coming here and fighting. And all of you are going to be viewers of this great battle like on Twitch. Don't like it, right? Okay, next. China TV networks, old data, but video has taken over. Next. India, next. India has done very well. Data cost has come down, smartphone cost has come down. We make 250 million mobile phones today. We export $10 billion this year, and data consumption has gone up. This old data now is 11 billion. And you can see what the Jio effect. Mukesh Ambani spent $50 billion. $50 billion. I remember the time when Mukesh went before the public and announced, I'm going to Jio. I was on CNBC. And they asked me, what are the impact? I said, 50,000 crores benefit to the consumers. Because the revenues of the industry were 2 lakh crores. You're discounting the price. I said 50,000 crores. Actually, 60,000 crores has come into the pocket of users today. Now, all the industry is consolidated. Vodafone, they don't know what to do. Now, Airtel raised money. And being a smart guy, he allowed Vodafone to raise prices. Then Airtel raised prices. Then he said, I'm also going to raise prices. So all three are going to make money, but Jio will make the most money. So you must remember, when you become a dominant power, don't kill the competition. Keep the competition alive. So you can always point to them and say, competition, it is there. Allah is there. Next. Now this is fantastic, and that's why India has an unfair advantage. Let me give you data. This year, 2020 March, India will export $150 billion of software. This $150 billion of software has a market value of $200 billion because offshore work is much cheaper. The world makes $600 billion of software and $600 billion of software products. India makes 33% of all the code written in the world and sold. And 60% of global outsourcing comes to India. This year, we'll have 4.5 million people working in the IT industry. America has 6 million people in software. 1 million are Indians. Out of 4.5 million, 2 million work for American companies. Out of 8 million working for American companies, 3 million are Indians. 25% of Silicon Valley have an Indian founder. 25% of cybersecurity startups have an Indian founder. Indians have done very well outside India. So if you get a chance, go away to the Silicon Valley, go away to America if Trump is going to give you a, visa. I'd go to Canada. Canada is giving visas to the brightest people. They're all here. Go away in droves to Canada. Build Canada as a powerhouse to challenge the United States. I mean, Canadians will like it, right? Yeah, you're going to like it. It's a bit cold there, but doesn't matter, okay? And a lot of money is, Canada is growing. It's a great place to go. Please go. There are enough people in this country. Don't worry. Fani will stay back and take some young people from all the villages and make them into Bill Gates for 10 years. What funny? Okay. Then, startups. Okay, one more piece of data. Out of the 10 most valuable software service companies in the world, 5 are Indian. Of the top 5, 3 are Indian. Of the 2 million employees in the top 10, 1.5 million are Indians. We were all called cyber coolies by the leftists. They said, you all work in these companies, you're all coolies, get peanuts, you don't make great products. Now let me ask you a question. Which country has the most product companies? The US, not Europe. Europe has only got SAP. UK, we don't know. Japan, we don't know. Russia, no. Why is that? Why is that products only come up in the US? Because the US is a place where technology spending is very high, more than $1 trillion. A lot of capital is available. A lot of research is available. And technology assimilation is very fast. So there's a market, there is money, there is scale, and they've got talent from all over the world. Now in India, the local market for software is only 30 billion. It's so small. You can't grow in this country. It's very difficult. It's a price-sensitive market. People don't pay you on time. People don't pay you enough. And it's a difficult market. Even Japan doesn't have products with a $5 trillion economy. So the US, so they called us cyber coolies. In software services, we're the bottom feeders. 20 years ago, we did $50,000 projects. We came to $100,000, $500,000. Now we do 50 million projects, $50 million projects. And we come up where we fight Accenture. Accenture and IBM came from the enterprise. We came from the project. We are meeting there in the top 20% at the enterprise level. And we cleaned up the entire bottom. That's fantastic. And we dominate the world. The best engineers here are here. Almost all the cutting edge product companies doing AI, BI, all the nice stuff, have the engineering in Bangalore. And the poor guys work 14 hours a day building these great products, and somebody else makes money. It's a great way. Many are leaving and starting their own companies. That's good news. But we have this fantastic asset. Next. Come back. I missed one. Startups. India has 45,000 startups today who created $150 billion of value, 750,000 jobs, 34 unicorns. By 2025, we'll have 100,000 startups creating $500 billion of value and 100 unicorns giving 32 lakh jobs. We wrote this script 3 years from now, 3 years before, and announced it. Everybody laughed, ha, 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 ha. It's actually going to happen. I remember in 1997 in Karnataka, we went to R.B. Deshpande and told him, we need an IT policy for Karnataka. Idu yenu IT, yenu policy, nange yenu gottilla. And we told them, Aitu sir, ನಾವು ಬರಿತೀವಿ. That means we'll write we wrote a policy. And we said, target for exports in Bangalore, 5,000 crores by 2000. Yenappa, agata. Haudu sir, ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ ಇವಾಗ? 1,500 crores, sir. In 2-3 years, you'll make 5,000 crores? Yes, sir. Then he went to J.H. Patil. J.H. Patil is a nice guy, when he was in good shape. And he signed it, announced it. It actually happened. And in 1999, I remember, I was in the Indian Institute of Science going to a seminar. And I said, by 2010, India will have a $50 billion software market. Just I was the CFO of Infosys. I made a model, projected, and said it will happen. Young then, foolish. Then there was an IT secretary from Delhi. He said, oh, look at these fellows. They're only doing 2 billion, and there'll be 50 billion by 2010. How can it happen? The Gems and Jewelry are doing 8 billion. They don't talk. I said, sir, if India doesn't do it, Indians will do it. This is the anger and the passion of youth, right? Much younger then. It actually worked. And we are now at 150 billion. So you need to have high targets. You need to go for the moon. You can only fall down. What else? Doesn't matter. Go for high targets. Go for broke. Do everything in your power. You got 12 hours in a day to work. 14 hours, if you're funny. And you will succeed. Don't worry about that. Because unlimited scope in unlimited world, because the whole world is a market, and the whole world has got a GDP of 82 billion. Infosys tackled the global market, not the Indian market. That's why we did well. So look at this. This is beautiful. Next. In the last 5 years, 6 years, we got $60 billion. Last year, we got $14.5 billion of capital coming in. But sadly, only 10% is Indian. Because the Indian capitalist wants to keep his money in real estate and bank deposits. And only risk they take is the bank's money. that the banks are in trouble with 15 lakh NPS. They're not investing enough. So I got good news for all of you. India is going to become a digital colony. Good news, isn't it? We are an English colony, now we're going to become digital colony because 18 of the 34 unicorns are registered outside India, owned by foreign capital. Only 10% investment is Indian capital. Out of the Sunicons who are going to be unicorns shortly, a large number are OCs. They got subs here. Now, Fani, you are registered outside India or India? Very good. See, but Fani sold out. No? Naspers owns it, right? See? We don't have enough capital. People are not investing enough. LIC has got a balance sheet of 35 lakh crores, doesn't invest. SBI has got a balance sheet of 35 lakh crores, doesn't invest. Pension funds from all over the world come and invest in Indian startup. Our pension funds won't invest. Oh, there is a risku. Too much of risku. We told them, what is this risku for you when foreigners come and invest, pension fund come? They also are pension funds. They have to take care of pension holders. They can't take a risk. They invest. Why can't you look at it? Oh, we don't understand this. You don't have to understand it. Just give us the money. So 50% of active startups are there in Bangalore, Hubli, not Hubli, and Hubli is part of Bangalore, Mumbai and Delhi. All right, next. So India's new business backbone, Aadhaar, 1.2 billion, UPI, Jan Dhan bank accounts, and DBT has saved a lot of money. Next. India has 30 plus unicorn, 34, and the last week one more was there, Pine Labs. This year 5-6 unicorns will come up. More billionaires will be created in technology than in the whole of industry. I'll give the case study, I won't tell you right now. And look at all these companies, unicorn, look at all these companies. There's unicorns going to be unicorns. Many of them are in our portfolio. I didn't put it there, but others put it. So look at this. Exciting. How many of you will be a unicorn by 2025? Hey man, you got great ambition, fantastic. Just tell Desh to sign a check today. Where is Patil? Patil, see, Patil knew we're going to ask for a big check, he ran away. Tell Desh, okay? You should come here and write a check to all these people to be a unicorn. Next. Look at this, corporate participation is coming up, all these companies are coming up. Next. India Stack, how many of you heard of India Stack? Man, this is a backward place. You've not heard of India Stack? That is in India. India Stack is the greatest piece of public use software since Linux. It has got a presence-less layer, a consent layer, cashless layer, and a paperless layer. So Aadhaar is on that. Digital locker, eKYC, e-sign, UPI, open data storage, everything is there. And that's what led to the Jam Trinity. It's public use software. Anybody can start a company, use open APIs to build products on top. It's the greatest piece of innovation started by volunteers in Bangalore. And India is the only country where the payment app and the payment system is available for free for everybody. And we want to give it to Canada. Provided you take 100,000 of our engineers for the next 2 years to build apps on top of that. We'll give it to you free of cost. Just take it. But 100,000. Just tell Trudeau. Okay? And no Khalistan, Gilistan and all that. People from the south. So India Stack is a great piece. Next. It has taken 10 years. It's not been easy. Look at the reforms. All of us condemn this poor country. Criticize it. Say nothing happens. But look at what happened. In 10 years, Aadhaar, eKYC, Jan Dhan, payment banks, e-sign, Mudra, demonetization, RERA, GIRA, BIRA, eKYC, GST, everything has happened in this country. Tremendous amount of work. Tremendous innovation. Next. Rapid formalization. Demonetization happened. 85% of the currency disappeared in a day. But we carried on. Nothing happened. Yeah, some people stood in the queue. Some people, a weak heart, stood in the queue and, met the maker. But everybody blamed Modi, poor Modi. But what it did was change the behavior of the black money class. Out of 21 million people who file returns under the head and declare income under the head, income from business and profession, maybe 2 million are people who do black money transactions. They're all traders and others. Because the only profit they make is cheating on taxes. They're all scared. Now the black money things have come down, right? How many of you do black money in Hubli? You know what it is, and I'm sure you brought it down, am I right? You heard it has been brought down, right? At least you heard about it, right? It's been brought down. So, demonetization, 12 million unique GST filers, and UPI, 95% reduction in mobile cost. India has changed unbelievably. Because remember, Change is at the margin, not on the base. When the base is very large, it takes time to percolate downwards. But change at the margin is unbelievable. And you must be at the margin, at the cutting edge of all this change. Next. World-class products. I told about this. Next. India is going from data poor to data rich. When we're data rich and we create these huge databases, we're going to use AI and machine learning to do wonderful things and find out many things. For example, 500 million people, we have Ayushman Bharat, a medical insurance program free of cost. And all the disease, everything else will be in the database. So using the database, you can find patterns and you can cure many of the diseases which happen because all the diseases the world has ever had since antiquity is still there in India. Americans have become sanitized, I'm sure the Canadians. They don't have immunity. So they travel to India, eat some local food, they get Delhi bugs, Delhi belly, because they don't have the immunity. And they got allergies because they lack the immunity. We have a lot of immunity. Because, we stay in natural circumstances. Next. What are the benefit of the India Stack? 6 days to 1 hour to open a bank account. They actually did. They came to my office, I put my thumbprint, get my Aadhaar, they opened the bank account. But it took them 5 days to send the checkbook. That is still different. Next. For digital transformation, asset managers, 4 hours to 2 minutes to open a mutual fund account. It works. Now we get $3 billion of mutual funds investments. And today, the Indian money into the stock market is equal to the FPI money for the first time since 91. That's tremendous. If FBI sell and go, they don't sell and go. That's all fake. Because when they sell, the market falls. There'll be nothing left to take. But the government in Delhi fears, so they think they're happy now. Next. SIM card, 600,000 by Jio, 4 minutes. Bit dangerous, of course. With some crazy people make a SIM card and do everything and throw the phone, but it works. Next. So credit without friction. Paperless instant credit markets are coming. $1.5 billion has gone into fintech companies. All done by beautiful engineers. They come and tell you, sir, look at this app, so beautiful. Put your name, Aadhaar, and we'll go to the web, take all your credit exhaust, digital exhaust, and give you a credit and give you money. Brilliant. Half an hour, sir, money, sir. Very good. But being engineers, they don't know if you lend money, you got to get it back. They lost $500 billion. 500 million. 1/5, 1/3 is gone. But they will learn, right? Engineers will learn little bit, They're very smart people, little bit behind. The MBAs will come and teach them, and the CAs do better. Next. Winning strategies. This is interesting. Look at this. By digitization, you can get new revenues and also become efficient. But those who do both are the ones who are going to benefit in future. Next. Darwin. We always go to Darwin because he said the origin of the species. Now, Darwin said, it's not the strongest of the species that survive, but the one most responsive to change. That's why the dinosaurs went away, the small mammals survived. The big animals went away, the small, teeny-weeny human being survived because he had a big brain. He walked on 4, he came on 2, now he's doing wonderful thing, destroying the environment. He becomes so smart, he can also destroy the environment. Next. 2.1 trillion was spent last year on digitization and technology. It's a lot of money. How to get your hand on this pot of gold? Let me tell you a story. There's a guy called Dick Willington who's thought and went to a person to say, sir, I heard that London has got streets paved with gold. I want to go there. Then this wise man said, son, when you go to London, there are no streets paved with gold. There is no paving. There are no streets. You got to build the streets and do the paving yourself. So there is the money. If you want to get it, go work for it and get it. Next. Personalization has come in. Next. So what do people want today? Today, the world has changed, saying, don't spam me, don't force me, don't create fiction, know me, engage me, empower me. That basically means I'm dumb, I don't want to think, just give me what I want with 3 clicks. That's why Uber works, 3 clicks. Why do bother what is behind Uber? 3 clicks. It works. Ola, 3 clicks, it works. Everything works. Why bother, right? We got limited capacity in the brain. We only use 4 to 5%. You can't use more. It's tiring. Next. Netflix. When you go to Netflix and see a movie, the next time you go there and open, it sends you all the movies based on the pattern from that one movie that you saw earlier. Do you know that? Uses AI. Beautiful, isn't it? It finds patterns and recognizes, uses an algorithm. Next. Alibaba, 500 million active users, 175,000 transactions per second. 95% of all spoken queries handled by Ali Assistant chatbot. Logistics distance reduced. Everything is done by digitization. Next. Alipay or Ant Financial. They got all this mapped out. They can give you a loan in 10 minutes. All electronic. Next. Airbnb. By using neural networks and using digitization, they can create properties around the places where people go and not all of the place. And they can cover exhaustively where people go. And Airbnb has done a fantastic work of networking and using technology. Next. Spotify uses machine learning to create weekly personalized list. How many of you are in Spotify? It works, right? Is correct, right? Yeah. Next. And this is Uber. This is Bangalore traffic. Lovely traffic. Government doesn't know what is this traffic. Police know the least. But Uber knows more. Uber can predict and tell you in the next 1 hour what will be the traffic on Whitefield Road. Of course, we know it. Whitefield Road is always crowded. We don't know to go to Uber. But by using all the data, you can do modeling of how to create urban conglomerates, how to change the way people travel on the roads, how to create public transportation networks. If you want to create a metro, you got to see where there's crowding and create a metro along that. And you can find networks. Next. Adidas, robotic arm, 3D printing, took the shoes back, and now most of it is done by 3D printing and by robotic arms. Remarkable, isn't it? Next. Gray orange, robotics. A friend of mine went to China. He went to a factory, 1 kilometer deep by half a kilometer. It was dark. He said, holiday? No, working. People where? Why no light? No people, only robots. Robots don't require light. No light. Some red light comes on, something is not working, you go click or go there and do something. Then the entire thing is produced, it goes onto a conveyor belt, loaded onto a truck, and the truck goes by itself. Yellogate gottilla, voitu. It works. It's actually happening. That's automation. Foxconn had 1.1 million young girls whom they bought from villages, put into a hostel in a place like Hubli, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, they worked. After working 20 years, they went to the boss and said, sir, we want a raise. What is that? You want a raise? Really? 50,000 girls replaced by robots, 500,000 girls to be replaced by robots for the next 5 years. With robots have got dexterity in the finger. Robots have now got dexterity. They can pick up, they can hold, they can solder, they can assemble, they can do everything else. Assembly is being done by robots now. I went to a factory in Gilot near Delhi. Havels has a factory there to make AC, fully robotic in India. Because when robots make manufacturing, the plant in China, plant in India, plant in Canada will have the same equipment at the same cost and do the same work. Because labor costs can be changed. Canada, they may pay more. China, and have more holidays. India, they can pay less and maybe work. And China, they work the most. So the cost is there. If you reduce the cost, you can shut down the plant because there's no running expenditure. So now the world is becoming flat and level, run by robots. I asked a friend of mine in Silicon Valley, a very smart guy, brilliant AI doctorate. What are people going to do? How? They're going to have AR, VR, put a screen on the head, sit back and watch the world and be happy. Really? They're not going to work? Yeah. Few are going to work. AI will work. Then what about money? Government will give them basic income. Now the new theory will be developed by economists which says, every human being will have a personal robo. The robo will do the work in a factory or in an office. And the robo will get a salary. There'll be social security. And the money created, the robo account will come to you. So you can entertain yourself 8 hours a day and the robo works for you. It's good, isn't it? And that will be the world that's going to come. India will have a lot of robots. Okay. Next. XJet. This is brilliant. 3D printing. It prints using combination of metals and ceramics so that heat and LC can be transmitted on parts of the plate. Not the whole plate, only on parts of the plate where they're connected so they can save on material costs. And use cases from building components for a new breast cancer treatment to helping accelerate 5G. Next. Ultimate, this is beautiful. How many of you have fallen in love and had a broken heart? Raise your hands. Come on. I'm sure you fall in love. Oh, good. Now, if you break your heart, you can make a new heart. 3D printing of a heart. 3D printing of blood vessels is happening. In Bangalore, a company is 3D printing your liver. So you eat drink that single malt, right? Single malt, a vodka 60%, and your liver goes. You can get a new liver printed. But it's actually happening in the labs. And this is wonderful. A ear is being printed, blood vessels are being printed, hearts are being printed. A little bit, it takes another 3-4 years maybe, but things will happen. And they're trying to find out how to prevent aging. How do you age? When you pass the age of 30, the number of body cells which are regenerated to compensate for those dying comes down. So total number of cells reduce and you age. Now you can find out through big data and biocomputing what triggers that aging. You can postpone the aging to 40 or 50. So it's actually happening in many places because for all those billionaires with a lot of money, the one thing they don't lack is life. They become 80, 90. They want to live forever. They spend $1 billion for one more year, right? So they're doing all this stuff. Next. This robo, Atlas. There's a robo by Boston Dynamics. There's a video which says the robo will stand here and do a backflip and land on his feet. Try doing that. Only those people yesterday were able to do that, do a backflip. But they had all those muscles. The robo can do that. Look at the dexterity. A robo runs as fast as a cheetah in MIT. Now a robo can pick up, can do everything else, and this is fantastic. A robo can do 30-40% of what a human being can do. And someday when you're very shy, you may have a robo girlfriend, a humanoid. We'll talk, we'll do everything. The biggest selling device in Japan is a robo, because the robo will make your tea, clean your house, do everything. It's very warm, you can hug it, and it'll sing for you. And we don't want to sing, turn it off. So remember when you were young, you're sitting in front of a TV, people are fighting, people are talking, you want a remote mic to turn it off? And who is that? Bal Thackeray said, I got the remote for my CM, right? So like that, we can do it now. Next. Designer babies. Making babies is hard work. And the output, you don't know what will happen, what comes out, right? Now, you can actually go into the babies in the fetus and change the DNA using CRISPR technology. There's an old story of Anna Pavlova meeting George Bernard Shaw and saying, George, if we make a baby together and the baby has my looks and your brains, it'll be fantastic. And John says, oh dear, what happens if it has my looks and your brains? But you can actually change the brain, whatever it is. A Chinese doctor did all this using CRISPR, and it's dangerous. Because human beings, we don't want anybody to fiddle with human beings, right? Tomorrow they may grow a baby in a Petra dish. They already grown an artificial womb for a lamb in a Petra dish. So a lot of work is going on. So you'll have a robo boyfriend, a robo girlfriend. When they walk in the street, you won't know the difference. There's some movies too, right? About all this, right? Next. Deep tech, Google, using AI to predict lung cancer using 3D volumetric, modeling. And then you got Verge, automating the drug discovery. Next. In our own Bangalore, Siktable takes your blood samples, puts it on the cloud, digitizes it, and gets a pathology report in 10 minutes. You still need the pathologist to sign. But his diagnosis is much better than the pathologist. Because it's all digital, because everything is based on a pattern. If you get 100,000 use cases, you can use the digitization and check up. So you can detect early signs of cancer, early signs of everything that can go wrong with you by digitization. Bugworks. 1.5 million people die every year because of superbugs. Superbugs are 845 bacteria who don't have a cure because the last antibiotic was discovered in Tokyo 35 years ago. Now these people have discovered a new kind of antibiotic. They're doing human testing this year, and this is in Bangalore, and they're doing well. Next. Autonomous system for patient monitoring in ICU. ICU is very expensive. Now we've got everything real time, and technology can lower the cost. Next. Bloomberg uses social media chatter to find out patterns for who is buying, who is selling, what is happening, and make more money. Next. Space now is transforming data from space into actionable intelligence. Take the data from space. Now, predicting economic growth is being done by taking light intensity in the night. And they're trying to find an algorithm by saying the light intensity increases, GDP growth is there, consumption is there, if light intensity comes down. And if you look at India today compared to 10 years ago, you see a fantastic difference. There's light everywhere because it's free of cost. Next. ZenDrive, smartphone sensors. So your smartphone that you carry is an intelligence device used by the CIA. They can track where you are, what you're doing, everything is known. Because they got access to the database of all the telecom companies and to Google. So we're all under this, the hegemony of Google. Next. Houndify allows integration of voice and conversational AI. Conversational AI is where the machine talks to you in a human voice. Next. Implants chips. Very soon you're going to have a lot of chips implanted in the body to do all the work. You can go through security, you can make payments, you can do many things because the chips do all the work. Next. Descast Lab uses machine data referring for predictive analysis or geospatial. By using X-rays, you can find out whether there's oil in the ground, whether there's something in the ground. I think Patil should do things here, whether there's gold underneath this ground. And find out, dig the gold and give it as capital to everybody, right? Next. Textico deciphers meaningful patterns. Next. Initiatives to improve internet access. This is already happening here in a very big way. 67 minutes of daily video consumption, 11 GB of data. T-Series has got more than Pi D Pi. I think the Pi D guy is retiring now, isn't it? Retired, no? Yeah, you thought you can't fight T-Series. You can't find these silly Indians. Yeah, you can't find these silly Indians. Next. Oyo. Well, you know about Oyo. Next. Ola. Ola is everywhere. Fighting Uber. Next. Indian company like Flipkart using AI ML, a baby of Alibaba. Next. Paytm has done a lot of work giving away money. I think he's lost 10,000 crores. You can call him here and ask him to give away money to everybody here. He's got another 5,000 crores to lose. You know, Flipkart raised 50,000 crores, lost 35,000 crores. Mallya couldn't lose that much of money and poor guy had to run away. But Flipkart lost 50,000 crores and they all became billionaires. Next. Indian companies like Hotstar. Hotstar is all over using digitization. Next. Clean mobility. Yulu is a company which has done a mapping of Bangalore for traffic using machine learning. They know exactly what the patterns are, where traffic is, where to keep the bikes, and they're using it, run by an extraordinary engineer. And Yulu plus Uber has got a last mile thing. And Ather is the Tesla of bikes in India. The young kids who designed a bike grounds up. Why is Tesla so good? Because the software product designed grounds up. GM can't do it, Mercedes can't do it, BMW can't do it because they're all IC engine guys. The mind goes from the IC engine. This guy was done by somebody who came up bottoms up and he shrunk the engine. The electric vehicle has got 20 moving parts. The IC engine has got 2,000 moving parts. Electric vehicle costs $1,500 a year to maintain and run. The IC engine costs $10,000. It's an unequal battle. And these people in Bangalore created this bike. It runs very well. Next. Open is a newer bank. Every month they're getting 35 to 40,000 SMEs come onto the platform because if you go to a bank and try to do business, it's very difficult with the bank because the bank is created software from their point of view and you are an outsider, unwanted outsider who has to go to them. But what Open does is creates an app from your point of view, so ease of use, and connects with the bank through APIs, so all the transactions can happen seamless. You don't see the bank, you see Open. Next. Better Place is the biggest company in the world for blue-collar workers. 7.5 million profiles are there. They give jobs to 200,000 people every single month. They're in Bangalore. Next. Score Data is users. There's one more behind it. Come back. Baiju is not here? Okay, next. So Better Place, next. Score Data uses machine learning and is a data analytic company. Next. So, I'll give you one example. There's a company called Baiju. How many of you learned about it? How many of you know about it? Very good. We gave the first check to Baiju, 9 million and 20 million pre 7 years ago. Now he raised 200 million at $8 billion pre-money. How much is it? From 30 million to 8 billion in 7 years. The most valuable edtech company in the world. Remarkable company, 35 million downloads, 3.5 million subscribers. So the future is fluid and limited by your imagination. And digitization is rewriting everything else in our lives. And those who embrace it are the ones who will do well. And those who do not embrace it will sleep well at night. Thank you very much.
Sometime.
Okay, any questions?
Yeah. All right.
In our portfolio, about 20%. Generally, people speak of 60%. 60% is a good rate. At least you got 40% left. So it depends where you are. You see, why do startups fail? Startups fail for many reasons. One, the idea is great, but limited use case. Second, the idea is wonderful but cannot scale up. Third, people don't know how to market. Then fourth, people don't know how to raise capital. The most successful startups are the companies which know how to raise capital. Now, what is the difference between Taxi for Sure and Ola? Bhavesh was able to raise capital much faster, much better than Apramesh, right? Because Apramesh is a great techie. He built a better app, better everything. He spent all his time doing technology, whereas Bhavesh went and raised money, and by the time he raised so much of money that he had to give up. So I think you should learn how to raise money. The ones who do well are the ones who raise capital. It's a very brutal game. You should fall in love with technology. I'm going to build a great thing. It'll work. But the odds are against you. Unless it takes off like a network company. See, there are three kinds of tech companies. First are the network or algorithmic companies like a Facebook or a Snapchat, etc., which depends on getting more users and creating a network. Very rare. And chance of success very low. It can be hit and miss. Second is companies which sell tech. To give an example, like a Zoho and a company which sell you technology for business. And the third are companies where the front end is technology as against the back end. Now you've got Future, which is a shopping mall which has got technology in the back end, supply chain, payment, stocking, everything else, whereas Flipkart and Amazon have got technology in the front end. Because you have technology in the front end, you can scale up, you don't require a physical presence, you can work very well. But the payments and the delivery, everything is the same as before. So that transformations happen. You've got to pick it up and have a particular strategy. And if you want to start, you must have a team. We need 3 people minimum in a startup. Loners don't do well. I mean, against you. One is a visionary, you can see what is happening and change. Second should be a hacker, a good techie. And third to be a hustler who knows how to sell. Right. And most people in India fail because they don't know how to sell. They don't know how to talk, they are not aggressive, etc. Ask Fani, he'll tell you how difficult it is to sell. What, Fani?
Yeah.
Okay, next.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
No more questions? Yeah, come. I want a lady to ask a question too. Yeah, go on.
Excuse.
He's there. He's here. Why are you wearing the suit in a hot climate? You should wear a kurta or a t-shirt and be cool, man. You can't be a square. Okay. Yeah,
Thank you very much for coming and sharing your experience. So I am trying to create a 3D version of Byju called HoloSuit.
Fantastic.
Which uses virtual reality to teach both humans and robots skills.
Brilliant.
So we have about 11 patents in this area. I wanted to see how we can make your next investment in our company. What would be the...
Show us whether users are biting and they find it easy to use.
Yeah. We are getting a lot
Then
of
send a
users
mail.
around
We'll
the
talk
world.
to you.
Thank you.
Okay, who is next? Okay, let them ask questions. You can delay lunch. It's okay, unless you got a call. Yeah.
You talked a lot about digital revolution. So sitting in urban cities, vernacular languages is a big thing. We are in a state of decline in the next 30 years, scripts not being used and so on. But also on the other hand, there's a huge market. How do we jump on
I think
this
it's
trend?
happening. There are a lot of young startups only in the vernacular language. They're finding great use cases. There's a media companies where we have invested to, and there's a hot area for investment.
Thank you.
Excuse me. My question is related to e-commerce. So we have seen India rising with B2C e-commerce with two of the duopolies playing majorly Amazon and Flipkart.
Wait for Geo.
Okay,
You want the
that's
fun.
also there. So how do we see a B2B e-commerce as
Good,
of
but
now?
so long as you don't lose money, you got a unique proposition.
Okay, and is there any point wherein these B2C and B2B e-commerce saturate?
I think B2C is saturating because it's becoming a big money game. Everybody is losing $1 billion or $1.5 billion. But specialized vertical e-commerce will do well. A very specialized portal selling one particular good, and you have deep expertise and you know what to do, and you offer a fantastic array of goods.
Thank you.
Okay, a lady, and then finished. Okay.
I think we have a question there.
Yeah. What are your suggestions where, Hubli can be developed more industrially? Because here in Karnataka, if Bangalore is taken out, there is nothing.
Yes.
Just in Gujarat, there are so many cities well
Yes.
developed.
Yes.
Here, all the money goes into Bangalore.
Yes.
Not
No,
even any
money
other
doesn't
cities.
come to Bangalore. We pay 60% of Karnataka's taxes.
Yeah.
We get only 15% back. The rest goes into a deep, big hole. So don't tell we get all the money. We don't get it. We got a miserable life. We spend 2.5 hours in the traffic. Our metro is beyond scheduled by 4 years. The roads are crowded. The roads are broke. There's muck in the road. And
Yeah.
nobody cares a damn. Okay?
But how Hubli can come up? Because we had,
Hubli can come up if
CM.
all of you get together, go to your representatives, demand and get the money and not vote them to power. Kick them out. If you
Yeah,
go
yeah.
to sleep every day and not only moan and groan, nothing is going to work. I said it yesterday.
Exactly.
First, you must feel sorry for yourself. And then get together and fight. Create a vision and go fight. Look at what Desh did. Desh went away from here, did well. He came back alone, put his money. He's done something wonderful. Where are the other Hubli people doing the same thing? You make all your money and go send in Bangalore. Buy property in Bangalore and Bombay. Come and do work here, right? We spend 20% of our time working for Bangalore city. We spend our money growing in Bangalore, doing many things in Bangalore. So you need civic activism. You need to own Hubli. You got to own your community and be proud of it and work for it. You'll do well. Nobody will do anything for you. And nobody cares for Hubli in Bangalore. Please. I'm being very honest and straight. I don't want to give you stories.
Even if industrial minister is there, he was CM also, then nothing was done in industry.
Because you are not demanded, go and demand. Go to his house every day and harass him. Tell him to do work, not politic. Okay, madam.
So, in the digital era, I'm just using your human memory. Do you recall me? Mohan sir, you know me? You remember? Okay, from BPAC,
I know-
Shilpa.
Yeah, I know the face, man, not the name. I
Okay,
forget
fine.
names.
So,
no, limited capacity.
I understand.
Why didn't you do a BPAC here?
Okay, I was with Deshpande Foundation for a while. I'm undergoing the entrepreneurship course now because I'm an environmentalist. So we have one more BPAC here. Subhaya is also here. So what I understood from Hubli is the civic activism. I was just thinking on the same point. So until citizens don't come up with the governance issues, none of the digital era will actually be helpful for the common good.
No. It will be
So-
helpful for people who want it, not for you. Okay?
Okay. No, I'm not a political. I was a
No.
researcher.
Yeah.
So what I meant is people have to come together. That is missing. I also connected somebody interested in Hubli to the BPAC chapter. So something like a political action committee has to happen in Hubli.
Yeah.
So that's I go by your talk.
Yeah, please do it. I was here 5 years ago. I said the same thing. Everybody came and applauded. And today I'm going to the Thai event. Everybody is coming to see an entertainment. I'm going to present to them India 2030, how to be a $10 trillion economy. They're going to come, see it, get wowed, applaud, and go back to the home and do nothing. I told the organizer the same thing. No, because I worked for Hubli for the last 10 years trying to get things here. But unless there's local pressure, nothing will move. Yes, madam.
I have a question. I'm a physician. What is your prediction on robots replacing me in the future? In the near future, when is it
You see,
coming?
robots cannot replace human beings totally, but they'll do 50-60% of work that human beings do. Because human beings have something unique, lateral intelligence. Now robots have got, sequential intelligence. They can do pattern recognition, shift enormous amount of data, do many things else. And robots are now trying to come up with emotions for themselves to mimic humans. So it'll take some time before they can do more work. So they can't replace you, but they'll make your work easier. For example, you know that one algorithm went through 45 years of research in many, many journals which nobody reads anymore and found out what are futuristic, picked up things and came with a list of things. They were breakthroughs those years, but no impact, and now they're becoming impactful, right? Now the capacity of the algorithm to do many things is enormous. An algorithm robot, you can just say they're similar together. So they do a lot of the work, but they cannot mimic the brightest, the top 1%. The next 10% they can be replaced. Your lab assistant can be replaced. But for the thinking and all that, you can still come with flashes. Robots are writing music now. Robots are writing poetry. Of course, it's a bit silly. Robots are writing novels.
But I would like to thank Mr. Mohandas Pai. Please give a big hand for this amazing session that we had, full of energy.